We're back for round 2 this week of the official Colts podcast. Thanks for tuning in here on YouTube and the Colts Audio Network with Bill Brooks, Ring of Honor wide receiver Casey Vallier. I am Matt Taylor. We're getting you ready today for Colts and Titans, week number 6, another AFC South game on the road for the Indianapolis Colts. And I'm not being funny, fellas. How about this weather? This is our, second summer, I guess, here in Central Indiana?
It's beautiful outside.
85.
Beautiful.
I was driving down the road the other day, and I think it was like a McDonald's or a Burger King, one of those fast food signs. It said 7 a.m. Winter. It said 10 a.m. spring, 3 p.m. summer, and 7 p.m. winter again. That's the weather that we are having.
That's about
in
it,
Central Indiana nowadays here in the fall. And in all seriousness, speaking of weather, our thoughts and concerns and prayers are to those dealing with the hurricane and the high winds down in Florida. So That's no joke. Our good friend Rick Venturi's got a place down there. And they were hit once hard a couple weeks ago, and I think they're getting hit harder even more so this go around. So again, everybody down in Florida, we were thinking about you. So it's certainly a difficult time to see all those images and the radar and things like that. But we came here to talk about football, so that's what we're going to do here, fellas. As I said, the Colts are now 2-3 and trying to avoid an 0-3 start to begin the season inside the AFC South. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to roll out a round of what I call buy-in or keep trying, right? Some statements around this game, whether or not they're true or false, and some of the implications that are going to come out from Sunday's game. Also love this guy, running back Tyler Goodson is going to join us here on the podcast today. Goody had a lot of runs and some good catches out of the backfield last week in Jacksonville. And with Jonathan Taylor's health still in TBD status as of right now, he's obviously going to play a big role and could play an even bigger role if Jonathan Taylor can't go down in Tennessee. And then we're going to close out the show with a quick dive into what makes the Titans a very formidable foe coming up on Sunday, despite them being 1-3 on the season, but they are coming off a bye, so they are rested, and they're coming off their first win last time out for them against the Miami Dolphins. But the big story here, fellas, Casey, it's a jumbled mess right now in the AFC.
Yeah.
I think the Colts are one of, 5 teams right now that have 2 wins and 3 losses. So despite some uneven play, the Colts still have everything in front of them to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say the number, I may be wrong on this, but I think it's 27 teams are either 2-3 or 3-2. So, I mean, the whole NFL is kind of dealing with
at least those records.
Yeah, at least those. So, I mean, essentially where the Colts are, that's kind of what everybody else is dealing with. And ultimately, where you are, you just want to have a chance. And the Colts clearly are sitting there with an opportunity. You got a couple games here in a row where the opponent has dealt with their circumstances they've had, so you can kind of take advantage of those for sure. I mean, the Titans and the Dolphins in back-to-back weeks, those are you look at the schedule, desperately some areas where the Colts can attack some areas and get some winnable games here, but it all starts with the Colts doing what they need to do, and that's, I'm sure, we're going to talk about.
And we also have to lead off with injuries, and my goodness, this team has so many of them, but the latest one is Michael Pittman Jr. dealing with a back injury. Now, nothing official from the Colts. Didn't practice on Wednesday, but according to multiple credible reports, including ESPN and Adam Schefter, the NFL Network, among others, he might miss some time. All right, so his status for Sunday's game is certainly in jeopardy. Bill, nobody knows that position better than you when you factor in what Pittman has done, what he can do, the reliability that he brings to this team. This is just another chink in the armor of the Colts offense. Anthony Richardson might not play. Jonathan Taylor, as we said, still a little bit TBD. How much more can this team withstand in order to sustain? I know it's always next man up, Bill, but at some point you kind of reach a breaking point, do you not? I mean, it's just hard to hear all of this news about injuries.
It's very tough to hear all this news about injuries, as you stated, especially with Pitt, knowing that the key word you said there was reliability. You know each and every game going into a game that Pitt's going to show up. He's going to play. He's going to be there. You get the ball to him, he's going to make the catches. He's going to make the runs after the catch. He's going to make the blocks that need to be made in the running game as well. So that's a blow for the Colts offense. But as you said, next man up. Ashton Doolin or is it A.D. Mitchell or someone has to step up and make some plays out there. And I think they will step up, but it's going to be tough to replace that production for Pitt and what he means out there for that offense.
Who slides into that role? Or maybe better asked is, how does the offense morph and evolve? Because Pittman is so big with volume of catches, especially in the middle of the field. Who steps into that part of the offense if you want to continue to rake in the catches that Michael Pittman Jr. does in that capacity?
I mean, you've heard in the past that they like to rotate guys in there, so it can be a different bunch of guys. They can move guys inside or outside. You know, you could probably move Alec in there maybe a little bit. We mentioned Ashton Doolin in there. But it wouldn't surprise me if they change the personnel and have maybe multiple tight ends in there. Have another tight end inside, maybe line up tight and use that as far as another change-up for what they do. So I think they could put not anybody in there. They could put a lot of different people in there. But I think of like Ashton pretty much can go in there and run some plays from that inside slot position because he's big, he's tough, he's physical, and he can handle all the volume that it takes to run the offense from there.
And Casey, real quick, everybody's talking about Alec Pierce and his explosions in the offense, right? He leads the NFL in catches over 40. He's got 2 touchdowns over 60. And everybody's wondering around the water cooler, hey, why can't we get this guy more involved earlier in the game? Because he had 3 catches over 100 yards last week, and they all came in the fourth quarter as the Colts scored 24 points in the final quarter to come back and tie the game late. Hypothetically, could Alec Pierce be more of a I hate to call him a one-trick pony because I think he's certainly more than that, but could he have more of a variety of route combinations and routes run in this game without Michael Pittman Jr.?
I believe so, and I think part of it too is, and Alec even talked about it in the locker room this week, is there's a handful of guys that do a bunch of things. So, you talk about the one-trick pony, but that is one thing where, he excels a little bit better than some of the other guys, so that's kind of what they have him doing.
He's so good at the trick.
It's at the point where, even Richardson said it's not even 50-50. They view it as almost 99-1 because he's going to come down with almost every one of those 50-50 balls. So ultimately, I think that's why you see that as his role. But I do think that there is more to what Alec Pierce can do, and you take away a Michael Pittman Pittman can do it all. So you've got to look at how it's going to be able to be, that role. It's not going to be one guy just steps in. It's going to be a handful of guys. But I do think that this will open the door to kind of show more of what that route tree is for Alec Pierce. You talk about Ashton Doolin, A.D. Mitchell, Josh Downs. Those guys, they all kind of have their role. But now when you take away one of the key guys who does a handful of different roles, it's going to make some other guys step up. And I think Alec Pierce is the perfect guy to do that.
Yeah. Hey, before we go further, Bill, can we comment on Casey's haircut? Can we get some comments on the YouTube chat about Casey's
I told him when he came in. I liked it when he came in.
Fresh, man.
Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
I liked it.
I did. I knew I was on camera today. I figured it's time to get rid of the mop top I had and go with something fresh. So,
is that what you said when you went in and sat down in the chair? I need to get rid of the mop top.
I need this gone.
It looks good, Case.
Well done.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Comments are flooding right now on YouTube, by the way. Mark the tape, as they say. Like Robert Downey Jr. is on the set here with us here today. All right, buying or keep trying. You guys ready?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Let's debate some statements, and let's see if they have some validity, if you will, for Sunday's game. All right, this game is a make-or-break game for the Colts if they want any shot at winning the AFC South. You buying, or you got to keep trying?
I'm going to say keep trying just because we are early, but boy, it is close because I think that there is still a lot of football left.
Oh, man.
I know sitting next to Bill Brooks, he is not must-win guy, so I know he's probably a little bit more in agreement with me on this one, but I do think that there is still a lot of football to be played, but if this is one you lose, it really puts you behind the 8 ball.
Billy, a loss would put the Colts at 0-3 in the division. Last year, the Texans won the AFC South with a divisional record of 4-2, plus they are already 2-0 inside the AFC South. I'm not saying the Texans are going to run away with the division, but if you lose this game, I'm buying it. I think it's going to be really tough for the Colts to win the AFC South if you start 0-3 in your first 3 divisional games.
I think I'm not buying it.
Wow.
I'm not buying it. I say keep trying. And the reason I say that because, for one, back in 2022, I think it was, Cincinnati Bengals started 0-3 in the division, and they won the division.
Okay.
So it can be done. So that's what I'm saying. It can be done. And I think the Colts, if they do, start 0-3, they still have a shot because Houston has a tough schedule.
They're playing their first place schedule.
Yeah, and I think they have the Packers left, the Colts, the Lions, the Cowboys, Chiefs, and Ravens still left in their schedule. So anything can happen. They've got some injuries now. Nico Collins is out for a little bit. So
can we all just agree that it's going to be tough?
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
It's going to be tough. But I will say this: it will be tough.
We can concede the toughness.
Yes, 100%.
It will be an uphill battle, and if you go into this game and say you don't win this game, you're 2-4. And you say Houston wins their game against New England this week. They're 5-1, so you're 3.5 games back.
Yeah,
that's a tough road to climb to get back into being in contention for winning that AFC South division. So it is tough, but just got to play each game. Just got to go out there and play each game and take 1 week at a time, and not look at the overall big picture of trying to get up on top right away.
This is a huge game, though. Believe it or not, the winner of this game is going to be in second place in the AFC South coming up on Sunday, despite both teams right now having under 500 records. All right, buying or keep trying on this bad boy. All right, despite Joe Flacco's great numbers, the Colts are making the right move by turning the offense back over to Anthony Richardson if and when he's healthy. And again, I don't know if that's going to be on Sunday, but Shane Flacco, Shane Steichen. It's a combination of Shane Steichen, Joe Flacco, and Shane Falco.
That's what I was going to go. Was the Shane Falco?
Good God. All right, mark the tape. Redo. Shane Steichen is already on record this week, and I think rightfully so, saying that Anthony Richardson is our quarterback if he's healthy enough to go, or when he's healthy enough to go. That's the right move. You buying that or keep trying that, Bill?
Oh, I'm buying that, definitely. I think it's the right move to have him get back in there because, look, you drafted him that high. He needs the experience. He needs to get out there.
Despite all of what Joe Flacco has done from an individual performance.
And this is nothing against Joe Flacco because Joe Flacco has done exactly what they asked him to do and did it well the past 2 games. So give Joe Flacco a lot of credit for that. And I don't think we expected anything different from Joe Flacco. He just did what we thought he was going to do. But Anthony Richardson is the quarterback that you want to give experience to see what he can do out there, and knowing that the talent he has, the things that he can do, will be an asset to this team. It'll be an asset to the offense. And I think you have to give him the opportunity to learn and to grow. And the only way he's going to do that is by playing. So, yes, get him back in there as the guy to run the offense.
All right, Casey, so far this year, Anthony Richardson completing 50% of his passes. He's thrown 6 picks. That's a league high. Joe Flacco completing 70% of his passes, no picks. Anthony Richardson's yards per attempt, that ranks 3rd, but his passer rating is 60. That ranks last in the NFL among qualified quarterbacks. Meanwhile, Joe Flacco has thrown 5 touchdown passes in the last 7 quarters, has a passer rating of 115. That ranks 1st in the NFL here at the moment. But I still think I agree with Bill. I think the Colts are making the right move. You don't draft Anthony Richardson 4th overall if you're not willing to go through the speed bumps. And the only way you smooth out the road by going over the speed bumps is by doing it. That's by playing, right?
You're spot on. I'm right there with both of you guys. I'm buying it because you knew it was. You knew there were going to be.
And Joe Flacco, who's great.
Yes,
he's not going to be here in the long term.
Right, and you knew
that's. I hate to keep interrupting you. I'm sorry, but it's just that's the unfortunate part about what Joe Flacco does. You know, he comes in and he gives the Colts a great chance to win, and now there's a section of the fan base that says stick with that guy because it's all about the now. And yes, it's about the now, but it's also about the bigger picture.
Yeah.
You know, beyond this season.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, Anthony Richardson at the moment is your franchise quarterback. You don't draft a guy where the Colts drafted him and move away because he gets hurt and somebody else steps in. That's not a reason for them to say, okay, we gotta hold the whole. I mean, ultimately, you're taking a pause on the future, on the whole franchise if you go that route.
Yeah.
And you have to let this one play out. You knew you were going to have ups and downs through Anthony Richardson because of all of the lack of experience that he's had.
And the fact that he got hurt last year.
Yes. I mean, he got hurt last year, but you also knew prior to last year he had played X amount of games, and since he graduated high school, it was number 13 heading into the NFL.
Yeah.
So then you throw in 4 games from last year, you're still at such a small sample size. So there are going to be growing pains. There are going to be ups and downs. You talk about the yards per attempt, the air yards per play. I mean, he's electric. Yeah. All of those things play into it, but the completion percentage, you want it to be better. So there's that fine balance. You're trying to find that middle ground with all of that. And if you don't go back to him, you'll never be able to figure out where that is. And it's also going to stunt his growth. So absolutely, this is the right call. If he's healthy, he's the guy.
I agree. And saying that, Joe Flacco comes in and he is just so impressive. It sounds like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth right now, and I'm trying to do a better job of making my point and stay on course. But the thing is like Joe Flacco is here for a reason, and the reason is Anthony Richardson bangs up his hip, and he still guides the Colts to a win. And quite frankly, last Sunday should have been a win when you score 34 points. And we're going to talk about the defense, but this is why you bring in a veteran quarterback. This is why you bring in Gardner Minshew last year. This is why Joe Flacco is here this year, to smooth out the instances where Anthony Richardson is not able to go. You just want to make sure that the 50% rate of him missing games does not hold up any longer, right? Where he's played 8 games and he's been knocked out of 4 of them.
Right. You want to give your team a chance to win football games. If Anthony Richardson is not in there, Joe Flacco can run the offense. He's been around. He's seen a lot of different things. He understands the offense. And the man still has an arm. Yeah. I mean, he still can throw the ball.
Ask Alec Pierce.
Yeah. I mean, he still can throw the ball. I mean, he's back there. He's calm. He's cool. He can read defenses. He gets the ball out of his hands quick once he hits his back step. And then he gets the ball right to the guys, and they can make nice runs after the catch.
And it's just pinpoint accurate.
Yeah, I mean, the ball's out and it's there. And he did show a little bit of speed in the game.
He's got some wheels.
Us 39-years can still move,
So he still can move. So, but it was good to see Joe play. And I mean, I'm happy for him.
Yeah.
I'm sure he probably wants to play more. I mean, who doesn't? I mean, if you're a competitor, you want to get out there and play more. But he understands what his role is with this team, and he went out there and he did it.
All right, buy in or keep trying. The Colts defense needs to make major changes in order to reroute the course of this season. All right, some context here. The defense really banged up, a lot of injuries, but last week it allowed season highs in points with 37, total yards in 497, and passing yards at 371 to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Casey, I know this is a loaded one. You buying or keeping trying there?
That's a hard one because ultimately, if you continue to do the same thing over and over again, it's a definition of insanity. And right now, we've seen essentially the scheme and all of that has stayed the same throughout. So in a way, I'm saying I'm buying it because you have to do some things different. But I think part of that is you're going to get some guys back. I think we saw Kwity Paye practice, Kenny Moore practice. So a couple of those additions are going to help in some of that stability that you've had as far as injuries go. But it is something to really look at because you've got to start finding ways to limit. I mean, it's almost like not necessarily this is the truth, but it seems like there's a career day week in and week out this year, and it's whether it's from a running back or from a quarterback,
or season highs by the opposing offense.
I mean, you've had a 100-yard receiver in every game, so all of those things adding together, there has to be changes, and it may be one of those things where it's not necessarily a scheme or what the play is; it's just a mentality change or something. But something does have to change a little bit when it comes to that because you can't continue to do this week in and week out and expect to win football games.
Well, through 5 games, the Colts ranked 25th in points allowed after ranking 28th in points allowed in each of the previous 2 seasons. They're 32nd in yards allowed per game at over 400. If the averages hold up over the course of this season, fellas, the yards per game and the passing yards would be the second highest in club history. Yeah. And I loved what Zaire Franklin had to say yesterday inside the locker room. I don't know if you guys caught it, but I'm paraphrasing here. He was asked a question, and his answer was kind of a big picture response. It's like, we got to figure out who in the heck we are. We have too much talent on this defense to be giving up the numbers that I just alluded to.
Right.
Are we going to be – it's time to look at ourselves in the mirror, Are we going to be the defense that figures it out starting right now and we start putting good performances together? Or are we just going to be the defense that everybody loves to play? As you said, are we going to be the defense that allows season highs and career highs? This is a huge, I think, breaking point for the defense, Bill, to figure out what it's made of internally and the amount of urgency that I think it needs to start showing.
Oh, I agree. They did definitely have to do that. And you know what? I don't know if it is a scheme or not. I don't know that. I'm not going to sit here and say, yes, it is a scheme or it's not the scheme. But what I am going to say is it depends on execution. Those guys have to execute better because giving up those big plays and missing tackles.
Yeah, missing tackles
and
was big.
A lot of missed tackles. And then for me right now, in your fifth game that you've played, I see a lot of pointing fingers, meaning that, oh, miscommunication, you're supposed to be here, you're supposed to be there. Not pointing, not blaming anyone else, but just saying, oh, you're supposed to be here, you're supposed to be here.
Right.
That shouldn't be happening in the fifth game of the season, especially
in year 3 of the scheme.
Yes.
Yeah.
Year 3 of the scheme, guys been playing it. So those things have to change. And it just becomes a point now that those guys are looking in the mirror and say, look, we have to get better. We have to execute. We can't be making these mental mistakes out here. And we're a team that's supposed to be able to tackle and have good tacklers. We can't be missing tackles in crucial situations. So to me, I don't think it's a major change or anything like that. So I'm going to say keep trying. I'm not going to say buying.
Yeah.
But they do have to play a whole lot better, and they have to stop making the mental mistakes.
Yeah, the mental mistakes just killed the Colts last week.
Yeah, exactly.
3 plays over 60. I think it was 14 plays over 10 allowed to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And Casey, I think that's probably the most frustrating thing, at least for fans, is they see these numbers by the defense in totality, and then they look at the offenses that they're playing. They're not playing the Chiefs every week, right? They're not playing the Chargers with Herbert. You know, they're playing some young quarterbacks or non-established quarterbacks or backup quarterbacks. And some of these offenses that come in averaging less than 20 points per game, well under that threshold, are putting up season highs and having career days against the Colts. Yep. I think that's what has the fans a little bit up in arms a little bit. It's like we're giving all of this up to non-powerful offenses.
And to really harp on that, especially last week, we know that Jacksonville, the offense, they have a handful of weapons that can Brian Thomas is a really good player. We've seen Christian Kirk be a good player. Trevor Lawrence has been a really good player. But heading into that game, it hadn't been there. I mean, Trevor Lawrence had lost his last 9 straight starts. Yeah. He had looked ultimately almost like a guy that you start questioning, is he the guy they should have paid? Is he,
what we do now?
And you're right. I mean, they hadn't scored 20 points all season. I mean, they're fielding questions the week before about job security and all of that. So I understand the frustration completely. And that is, I'm glad that Zaire Franklin was pretty blunt about that in the locker room, because at the end of the day, like Bill said, it's execution. You got to go out and you've got to perform. Like, you can blame a scheme, you can blame a coordinator, but also the guys have to play. And there were a handful of missed tackles on Sunday that all of those guys back there, they are all telling you that's the problem. Like, we need to shore up what we do. We got to get back to fundamentals. And you're right, at week 5, that shouldn't be happening. But, one good thing about this league is you got another chance to go out and correct things coming up on Sunday.
Looking for more consistency on that defensive side of the ball. That is buying or keep trying. Well done with Bill Brooks and Casey Vallier. I'm Matt Taylor. You talk about consistency. Whatever role he's put in, Tyler Goodson delivers. Running the ball, catching the ball out of the backfield, whether he's getting 30 snaps or 10 snaps, he's ready to go. And he's our spotlight player of the week this week here on the Official Colts podcast. Had a chance to catch up with number 31 a little bit earlier today. All right, let's enjoy some sunshine right now here in the Hoosier State. The great fall weather. We capitalize on that with Tyler Goodson, Colts running back, with us. Tyler, down in Jacksonville last week, 5 on the ground for 26, 3 catches out of the backfield for 31 yards against the Jaguars. I know the outcome is not what you wanted, but your performance was pretty solid. Were you pretty happy with it?
Yes, I was pretty happy with it, especially with the opportunities I was given. My main thing is just going in there, and when the ball is in my hands, just do everything I can just to make a play and try to help the team win. And I feel like that was a good step for me. And and going on into Jacksonville, just making plays.
Right.
And it's definitely going to carry on to this week and allows me to build confidence.
Yeah, you were splitting the carries and splitting the time in the backfield with Trey Sermon. How do you stay engaged and stay ready? And whenever your number is called, you go in there and you make a play. How difficult is that to do with kind of the start-stop nature of what your role was last week?
I mean, I don't think it's difficult if you love the game. Me personally, I have a lot of passion and love for this game, and I want to do everything I can to put myself in a position to maybe be that main guy one day.
Right.
So for me, it's not just about going out there and just being at the game. I like watching the game, paying attention to the game, learning from other people, seeing how they run or how they move with the ball in their hands. So it's a lot of factors that go into it when it comes to just keeping my focus on the game. Because I know when I go in there and I do have a lack of focus, then I'm not going to be at my A game, and then that's going to cause me to maybe lose my job and maybe not have a job. You know what I mean? So, and we don't want that happening. So I do everything I can just to make sure I'm ready.
And so it's always about the big picture, like you said. With that in mind, playing off of that, how much film do you watch of other running backs, and how often do you add new tricks to your bag?
So I pretty much watch running backs of my style, pretty much pass catchers. Complete backs. I watch a lot of Aaron Jones tape. Alvin Cook when he was doing his thing. Adrian Peterson, guys back in the day. A lot of guys. So I try to implement key components from everybody's rush style and everybody's game to my game. I mean, everything might not go as planned as it does in the game, but just being able to watch those guys move and how they work helps me, because it allows me to be like, okay, I might be doing something wrong on my end, or not doing the right thing on my end to be able to be successful just like them. So that's what it's all about.
You're such a great teammate and you're such a great player. With that in mind, how do you internalize and deal with the fact that you don't want to see Jonathan Taylor get banged up? I don't know about his availability for this Sunday's game down in Tennessee, but you're sympathetic for his situation, but also at the same time, it's more playing time potentially for you. How do you deal with that?
This game takes all of us. It's a long season, 17, 18 games this season. So it's going to take all of us, and we all know injuries going to happen. So it's all about just being there for each other and just making sure everybody's caught up to the same pace in the room, because when your time comes, you want to take advantage of that so you can stay in the building and be able to be around the guys that you like being around. So that's what it's all about for me. It's not really about just I, me, because my time is going to come, and nobody can stop God's timing. So, God willing, hopefully my time comes in the future, but if God wants me to stand in the background, play my role, then that's what I'm going to do.
And that's all about staying ready, because you never know when that time's going to come, but you're going to be ready.
Yes, sir.
That's the mindset, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, so with you can play with any quarterback. You can play with Anthony Richardson. You can play with Gardner Minshew.
Right.
You proved last week you can play with Joe Flacco.
Yeah, sure.
What is it about this guy? I mean, he comes in. I mean, he's Joe Cool for a reason. I mean, he's cool, calm, collected. I mean, even his walk is cool. You know what I mean?
Right.
What is it about Joe that keeps everybody stable?
I don't know. I think that's just Joe's style. Like, he just too cool. Like, he be talking to the guy, like I don't get the call, I be paying. He just out there lackadaisical, like he's been here before, and that just comes with just experience in the game and how long he's been playing the game. So just being out there with Joe and just seeing how he operates, I think it definitely helps other teammates to be like, all right, Joe's cool, so why can't we all be cool and all play the same game? We know we've been playing, you know what I mean? So kudos to Joe. I love playing with Joe. It's an honor to play with a quarterback like Joe. So I'm looking forward to the season with him.
Does it matter for you which quarterback it is? Or I guess a better question is, how long does it take to get adjusted and to accommodate for a different quarterback?
It doesn't really matter to me. I just trust that guy's going to do his job. Everybody has a job, and everybody has a role in this team. And we all plan to get our jobs done so we all can be successful. It's a team game. Everybody has to do their job in order to go in there and win games. So it really doesn't matter to me. I really don't have a preference on which quarterback's in the game. I just know they all can get the job done, whether that's Anthony coming in there and throwing the ball, correcting defense with his legs, or Joe coming in there and just being Joe, being cool, dicing the ball around, or whether it's Sam's in there, because he can go in there and dice it up too and run with his legs too. So it doesn't matter for me. I have full trust and confidence in those guys.
All right, so Tennessee coming up on Sunday. Their defense is legit. I'm sure you've seen them on film. They're number one in total defense, number one against the pass, really good on third down. What kind of challenge is this on Sunday?
It's definitely going to be a good challenge, but at the end of the day, it's football. They still got to come. We're going to go over there, and they got to play football.
Right.
I mean, it's a new weekend each and every weekend. You're not going to always be the same every week, you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, you're going to have to show us what that number one defense is, or whether what category you in. It doesn't matter. When the clock ticks, when it's time for kickoff, it's time to see what's going to happen.
All right, behind the curtain a little bit, right? When there's no coaches in the locker room, when it's just you guys and it's just the players inside that locker room, how much you guys, or what are you guys talking about this week, trying to avoid 0-3 in the division and just the sense of urgency that is needed going into this game?
No, definitely just keep make sure your body is right for Sunday. That's the main goal, because we all know this game is a physical game. Make sure your preparation is good. As far as mentally, physically, where make sure you got the game plan down,
right?
And really just make plays, because that's what this game comes down to. All these games come down to close games, and it's just gonna come down to who's gonna make the big time plays and the big time moments. And we know we got the guys in the locker room to do that. So talk to them in the locker room, but just keep doing what we're doing. We just gotta be able to hone in and make the plays that we know we're capable of making.
All right, before I let you go, can we hop in the time machine real quick?
Let's do it.
Can we go back to high school for you in Georgia, North Gwinnett High School?
Yes,
right? Correct me if I'm wrong. You were teammates with Josh Downs in high school.
Yes,
you guys won a state championship in 2018. I mean, you have two NFL players on the same high school team. Now you're both in the NFL together. I mean, did you guys win every game like 100-0 or what?
I wish it was that way, but most games was pretty close. There was a lot of talent out there and other good teams out there, but I'll say playing with Josh in high school, seeing him grow up and making it to the league, and now us playing on the same team, it's just a real moment. And I remember, I'll never forget, the first time I got in the huddle with him here against Houston when they came here. And I'm like, bro, we really in the same huddle together again, bro.
This is amazing, right?
We going right back to school. He's like, yeah, let's go get a Super Bowl.
Were you guys pretty tight in high school?
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
His family's, me and my family, his family is very close. Him and my brother are very close as well. So we've always was around each other, growing up with each other, training with each other, everywhere with each other. So that's my dog.
Did you? I mean, give us some dirt on Josh Downs growing up. Come on now. if there's anything you could say on camera here.
Josh Downs is.
I mean, he's sneaking into people's garages, or maybe everybody's a little
Look,
they get off the straight path a little bit.
All the people in the world, JD, I know you watching. JD is the biggest eater on this team.
Really?
You gonna know what I mean when I say
you got a big old appetite? Inside joke?
Big old appetite. Huge appetite.
I love it right there. Teammates back in the day. By the way, Tyler Goodson, the 2018 Georgia High School Player of the Year, and now he's a big part of this Colts ground attack and catching the ball out of the backfield, number 31 for your Indianapolis Colts. Tyler, always appreciate your time, man. Good luck on Sunday.
Appreciate you.
My good man, Tyler Goodson. He's our player spotlight this week here on the Official Colts podcast as we close it back out with Bill and Casey. I'm Matt Taylor, and I love that. Tyler Goodson, Josh Downs were high school teammates. He said that the games were closer. I said, did you win every game by 100? It's I mean, who's the quarterback? Does it matter?
Yes. Come on, what's
going to that guy or that guy? You're good.
I always thought about that with Juju Brents, who played locally here, and then Michael Tutsi, who's been with the team. I was like, man, nobody was able to gain a yard on those two guys playing defense.
Not passing the ball.
Right, passing the ball. You're not, and that's the same I would feel with Downs and Goodson.
Can you imagine?
Opposing defenses, good luck.
You would figure that
run a reverse, start that way, and then hand it off to that guy going the other way.
Just go up and down the field without being stopped with those two guys on the field. My goodness.
Yeah. So good little tidbit there, Tyler Goodson.
I like
man.
that.
Really good guy. Great interview.
Yeah.
So really appreciate his time. All right, it's time to tighten up. Let's talk about the Titans here to close out here. Tennessee, as I said, they come in 1-3, but they can be dangerous. They've got a second-year quarterback, just like the Colts. Their version of their up-and-comer is Will Levis, who they drafted in the second round in 2023. And just like Anthony Richardson, if he's healthy enough to play on Sunday, he's going to, according to their head coach, Brian Callahan. He's banged up with a shoulder, but he leads the NFL and with turnovers with 9, still completing right around 68-69% of his passes on the season. Got a bevy of playmakers to throw the football to. They've got DeAndre Hopkins, who had a big game last year against the Colts for $140 in that first meeting. Calvin Ridley is on their team coming over from the Jaguars. Tyler Boyd is now on their roster. He comes over in free agency from the Bengals. But nobody on their team, Bill, has more than 150 receiving yards and more than 1 touchdown on the season. So what's going on with the Titans passing game? And again, can this finally be the week where the Colts keep a pedestrian offense just right there, just kind of in the middle where they don't give up a big game?
You hope so. I think what's going on with their offense mainly is that you just mentioned it, the turnovers. When you turn the ball over, you just don't have opportunities to sustain drives and have more opportunities to get the ball to the guys. And I know they've talked about that they want to get the ball more to Calvin Ridley. They haven't got the ball to him as much as they want because they know he's a big play guy.
2 catches last 2 weeks.
Yeah, so he's a big play guy. So they're trying to get the ball to him now. Just because they haven't got to him in the past or they haven't been able to get the ball to these receivers, their receivers are very good receivers. You know, you got Hopkins; he's done it for years. So
he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, you know that. Yeah. So you got what he's doing. So I'm a big fan of Boyd, going out there, coming with Callahan over from Cincinnati.
Big slot guy.
Yeah.
Yep. So I'm a big fan of his. So they have the weapons. It's not that they don't have weapons and they have 2 backs. You know, no, it's not the Derrick Henry of old, but now they got Pollard and Spears back there. So
and they catch the ball too.
Yes, they do.
Catch the ball very well out of the backfield. And, you know, I look at this offense being similar to what Cincinnati was when they had Joe Mixon back there getting the ball out of the backfield and throwing the ball to him a little bit and running the ball. So they have the weapons. It's just a matter of them being more consistent, keeping the ball themselves, and, of course, not turning the ball over. Like we always talk about, you know, if you turn the ball over, more than likely it's going to be very difficult to win games. Yeah. And when they turn the ball over like that, it makes it difficult for them.
And 2 pick sixes, right?
Yes,
that makes matters worse.
Yes.
All right, Casey, let's talk about the deceptive defense for the Tennessee Titans. Through 4 games, they're giving up 243 a game. By the way, that's number 1 in the NFL, all right? Now, the naysayers are going to say, well, you haven't played anybody because you played the Bears in the first game of the season. Caleb Williams was making his first start ever. They played the Packers without – or excuse me, they played the Packers without Jordan Love. Yep. They played the Jets without Aaron Rodgers, or with a 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers. My mind can only handle so much, right? Aaron Rodgers does not play for the Packers anymore, Matt. All right? And then they played the Miami Dolphins without Tua. So is this legit or not? How much validity do you have to the overall numbers? Plus, they're really good at holding teams down in the passing game as well. They're number 1 in that category, too.
I think it's twofold because I think you do have to look at it as who they were playing against.
Right.
But they have really good playmakers on every level of the defense. I mean, it starts up front with guys like Jeffrey Simmons. Harold Landry might be one of the most underrated pass rushers in all of football. He is a really, really good player. And then, I mean, L'Jarius Sneed has been about as shut down of a corner as you were going to find in the NFL this year. And, I mean, he has been as advertised. He was, you know, the one of the high prize free agents, if you will, in the secondary during free agency. The Chiefs couldn't keep him financially. So, you know, when he was able to join the Titans, that one caught my eye because I was like, man, you got to see him twice a year. And he's lived up to the bill. It's one of those things where, like I said, it's twofold. You look at who they've played, but they do have a lot of really, really good playmakers. And, I mean, Kenneth Murray coming over at linebacker from the Chargers, he was a really good player. They've got some really good – yeah, Arden Key. I mean – it's one of those things where every player, you may not be a household name, but you look at it and you're like, oh, I remember him. Oh, I know that guy.
Better than the parts.
Yes. I mean, it really, it's a very impressive.
Jones,
I mean, it's pretty good. I mean, Jamal Adams, he's an older player, hasn't played much, but, I mean, he's a backup safety on their team. This is Jamal. I mean, he was a guy that through the first 6 years of his career, everybody's looking at, he could be the greatest safety to ever play the game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they have a really, really talented group, and I don't know necessarily if I think they're a number 1 unit, but they're definitely a very top team for sure.
They're a solid unit. Yep. They're a solid unit, and they're going to show up each and every week, and that's what they're going to probably hang their hat on going forward because knowing what the offense can do or not do, they're not sure about that, but they're going to be very confident in what their defense can do week in and week out.
Yeah. All right, to close out, don't scoff at this because anytime the Colts and Titans get together, regardless of how much roster turnover there's been, and there's been a lot with Tennessee from 23 to 24, and especially when you look at the line, the betting line, I think is, depending on what you look at it, maybe, you know, a point or two in favor of Tennessee going into this game. And you have to talk about those things when you talk about close games. The Colts have played 5 games. They have all been one-score games. And so when you factor that in, special teams is huge. And when you talk about Tennessee, they've got 2 of the best specialists in the game, punter Ryan Stonehouse and kicker Nick Folk. Stonehouse is back. He had that gruesome injury. Yeah. Remember last year? Was it the Tony Brown play?
Yeah. I don't want to think about
it's just,
that.
I think he tore his MCL, ACL.
And broke his leg.
And broke his leg all at once. I mean, just the most terrifying, nasty injuries you've ever seen on a football field. But he is back, and he's picking up right where he left off. I mean, he's one of the best in the NFL, looking to become the first player since the merger to lead the league in gross punting average for 3 consecutive seasons. And then Nick Folk is older than dirt, been in the NFL for like 2 decades.
Yes.
Still consistent
Still
as
very,
ever.
very consistent.
No, I mean, this is not a shot. Total compliment, all right? So tip of the cap to Nick Folk. I mean, he's made 96% of his field goals since the start of last year. He's made 48 out of his last 50 kicks. Hasn't missed since week 10 of last year.
Jeez.
So the Colts have 2 great specialists in Rigo Sanchez and Matt Gay. Obviously, the Titans do as well. Special teams is going to play a big factor in who wins this football game.
It's going to play a big factor, and they're punting as far as the Titans go. They're in the top 10 in net and gross punting as far as in the National Football League this year. So give them credit. They do a good job out there, and they're going to use punting for a weapon for them. If they can pin the Colts back and make the Colts try to go the long haul as far as scoring points, and they have a good defense in regards to stopping people on 3rd down and also stopping people in the red zone. They're pretty good at both of those. So their defense plays well in those 2 areas. And if Colts have to go a long way, that's what they want them to do. So give them credit. So special teams is going to play a big part because field position, I think, is going to play a big part in this game. Who wins the field position battle and who can have an easier time of moving the ball downfield and scoring some points.
And both punters can put it exactly where they want. Rigo leads the NFL in punts landed inside the 20-yard line.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say about Stonehouse, though, that this is favoring the Colts, is he has had problems with touchbacks. He's got the big leg, so there's sometimes that, so hopefully that, you talk about pitting him deep and all of that. That is the one area when you look at all of the positives that he and Nick Folk do, the one thing that would kind of be the one, negative is the touchback. So you're hoping that those kind of flare up on Sunday if you're a Colts fan.
Yeah, Stonehouse has the touchbacks. Casey has the slick back.
The slick back. There we go.
There you go.
I appreciate you. I do.
I like it, Casey. I like the hair.
Hey, I'm trying. I got to trying my part.
Keep dropping those comments on the YouTube chat.
But the big question is,
we're going to get Casey an endorsement.
The big question is, what does the wife think about it?
Hey, you know what? She's all for it.
Okay. All right.
I got home from the haircut, and both the kids were all 3 of the kids were like, Dad, hair looks good. I'm like, all right.
That's all that
and
matters,
she just gave me the nod, like, yep. I was like, all right, I'll take it.
The man of the house, getting it done. He's the man on this podcast as well. Along with Bill Brooks, I'm Matt Taylor. That's going to do it for this edition of the official Colts podcast, Colts Titans, week number 6. The Colts trying to get their first win inside the AFC South, doing it down in the Music City against the Tennessee Titans, where they swept Tennessee last year, trying to start it off here in 2024 and get back on the winning ways in the month of October. We're going to do it again next week, breaking down Colts and Dolphins. But until then, have a great weekend. Enjoy your game day on Sunday, and we'll talk to you next week here on the official Colts podcast. So long.